All right, everybody, you all in the back of the room, if you all have a seat. All right. The next panel is about fostering local markets that utilize recycled material manufacturing, fueling economic expansion and job generation. You will gain insights into the preferences of companies that may consider investing in the region, learn from successful strategies employed nationwide, and much more. Barbara Alfano manages the U.S. EPA Region 4 PCB and Sustainability section. She joined the EPA in 1988 after working as a national wetland specialist for 6 years in St. Petersburg. Most of her EPA experience includes Superfund and brownfields assessment and cleanup. For 5 years, she served as a regional EPA brownfield coordinator. Her background includes growing up in Pennsylvania, and Barbara, you're going to lose to the Miami Dolphins badly wherever you are. Yeah, they're going to trounce. Anyway, she also attended the University of South Florida in Tampa. Barbara, wherever you are, it's your show. Yes, sir. Kansas, we won the Super Bowl. Watch what happens this year, though. Yeah, the Dolphins are good.
Green button right there. Well, hello, everybody. My name is Barbara Alfano, as a wonderful introduction there. Yeah, I'm out of Atlanta this morning. We are the Region 4, the southeastern region for EPA. And Florida is one of my favorite states that we work with because I went to USF and I lived in Fort Lauderdale for all of 1 year. So I'm really anxious to be back here. And I have enjoyed this day so much. There's been so many good discussions, but I'm a little petrified because I don't know. You might think the EPA has all the answers. I wish we did. We're getting there, though. We are definitely getting there. We're working on things that you mentioned today, and I'll talk about that in my talk. All right. So this slide really sets the stage here. We are really fortunate right now in the recycling community because Congress has really provided a huge investment. In the past 3 years, not only the bill or the bipartisan infrastructure law, End Save Our Seas 2.0 was passed, but we also have great leaders at EPA that are on this, and we have introduced new grants, and we're working on that battery best practices that thankfully somebody that was sitting over there mentioned that is needed. So we are working on the battery best practices and the voluntary labeling guidelines as we speak. Congress told us we had until 2026 to do that. We'll probably get that done before then. But anyway, let me just go over this slide right here. This shows the investment that was given to us by the bipartisan infrastructure law, this $275 million for solid waste infrastructure for recycling grants. You'll hear me refer to SWIFR quite a bit in this conversation because SWIFR provides a lot of funding right now. Also the $75 million recycling education and outreach grants, which we'll be announcing next month. And then you can see here the National Recycling Strategy, which we've already released. And that's the first strategy of a series of 6. The next one that will be released will be the plastics strategy, which maybe some of you in this room kindly commented on the draft that we released this year. We got 91,000 comments on that, so it will be improved. We do really take your comments into consideration, and so look for that final plastics strategy in waterways soon. And by American Recycles Day, we hope to have some other publications out, which that's November 15th, which I'm sure you all know. And then the National Recycling Strategy, I'm not going to read these objectives here, but you can see, hopefully our esteemed panelists will be talking about some of those challenges and how to address them. So let's see. I'm not going to read this slide to you, but I just want to let you know that legislation actually provided EPA with the definition of a circular economy. So what you have up here, and it's in the National Recycling Strategy if you want to get a copy of that, but it really talks about what is a circular economy. And I've noticed, I still Google though. Somebody said they don't Google anymore to find out like things. I was like, what? What do you mean? I just can't imagine that. So I want to talk to you later because I really need to bridge that gap there. But anyway, I lost my train of thought. What am I talking about? Oh, so yeah, you can see our definition here. This is in legislation here on the circular economy. Let's see. Okay, this graphic is complicated, but we use this. This is not our graphic. This is the Ellen MacArthur graphic for a circular economy. And really the point here, the takeaway, and this is online as well, the takeaway here is the circular economy reduces material use, redesigns material, products and services to be less resource intensive, and recaptures waste as a resource to manufacture new materials and products. So that's what we're going by. And we just released yesterday, who was paying attention to the news? Did you notice that we revamped our upside down pyramid, and we did away with that because that wasn't based on data. And now we are having a more circular economy graphic. So I encourage you to look at that. Instead of our upside down pyramid, it's now maybe a happy smile, whatever you might call it. But anyway, so why do we care? I've heard some great statistics from you guys already. I don't need to tell this room why we care, but this is why. I mean, when you look at this, that 50% natural resource extraction and processing contributes to 50% of global climate change impacts. That's huge. And 90% of global biodiversity loss and water stress, and 11% of global species loss. That's a lot. Nobody's been talking about that, but that's huge. Okay, so here's all about Swiffer. So this is what we've done with that Swiffer money I mentioned in the other slide. We gave a bunch of money to the states and territories. All came in for our money, and we awarded those grants by September 30th. Florida DEP has a grant from us to work on data collection and formulate their plan and do neat things that Karen can tell you more about. But we have 8 states in the Southeast, so we're working with all 8 states on their Swiffer grant. We also invested in those Swiffer for political subdivision grants, or now we call those Swiffer community grants. And in Region 4, I'll talk about those 3 grants that we awarded right here. Durham County, North Carolina, 1 in Kentucky, and in Florida is Nassau County. Wouldn't be anybody here from Nassau County, would there? It's up near Jacksonville. Okay, just wondered. Okay. But what's interesting here on this graphic, I really like this pie chart because this just shows the variety of projects that we got in, because that was a competitive grant, and then the ones that we funded. And composting is really a primary action that's going to be implemented by these community grants, which is huge. As you can see here, these 3 are mainly focusing on expanding MRFs and capacity. And as Dr. Townsend mentioned, this is what is needed, is investment in those. So now I'm just going to talk about some tools that you can find on our website. This is kind of a neat one because it shows the economics are there, that we have, recycling results in over one job per a ton of recycled material, things like that. It's really interesting. We're on the third one. We update that every so often. You can look online for that. We also have an EPA facts and figures report that we do every 2 years. We work on data from, I think the latest report that came out was based on 2020 data. But it's really interesting. It gets all down into the weeds. It takes the same data that we've been hearing about the state. It's collecting it nationwide. And you can find out, and this one, sorry, I got the 5-minute mark, so I'm speeding through now. And this is a really cool thing that we put out with the map. I love visualizations, some really good graphics from Dr. Townsend and Karen. And this shows the recycling markets. Now, what I want to show though on this is when you drill down on a facility, you have 7 tabs to go through on that facility to find out information about it. So it's loaded with data, and then you can drill down and you can add data layers, things like census, EJ screen, and things like that to get more information out of it. It's very handy. And then this one, the Model Recycling Toolkit, which is excellent for communities. Although, really, you guys here sound like you could be writing this, and you probably are, because how we developed this online toolkit is because we just put this stuff together from what communities have already done. It's a compendium of things that have worked in communities, and I didn't get a chance, but I bet that Palm Beach is in there. I mean, absolutely. So, but the toolkit has all these neat things in it. It has case studies, it has trainings, it has standardized menus, and then we give a lot of grants out of EPA, so we have a grantee education guide. So these things are constantly being added to, especially this toolkit. It started out with, I think, 100, I call it like a library, and it had over 100 things in it. Now it has a lot more than that. But these are just some of the tools that we have. And in the future, like I said, we're gearing up for America Recycles Day. We're going to announce the RIO grants. Those are those Recycling Education and Outreach grants, which I know many communities applied for. We're going to have 25 announced nationally. Hopefully, again, we'll get 3 in Region 4. We have a good rate because we got a lot of applications in Region 4. So that's kind of nice. We're also going to announce the Swiffer Tribal Grants, which we'll announce 60 nationwide. And you'll see the draft food waste strategy, and we're revising our WARM model. And let's see, what else? Oh, and then the final strategy, plastic strategy, which I mentioned earlier. But take a look at that new graphic for our wasted food. I love that. It's much more detailed. It makes more sense than the upside down pyramid. So I'm glad one person saw it. All right, that's me. But okay, so you didn't really come here to hear me talk. I have some wonderful, wonderful panelists here, and they're going to introduce themselves. That's what they decided. I would do it if I was asked to, but I've got a really good panel here. And the first one to come up is Jake, right? Is that right? Okay, thanks, Jake.
All right. As she mentioned, my name is Jake Beeler. I'm with Pratt Industries. I'm the mill buyer for the Southeast region, and I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about who we are and what we do and how our paths align. So I guess before I get started here, show of hands, anybody heard of Pratt Industries, Pratt Recycling? All right, I got an audience today. So we, I guess I got the clicker. Big green button, this one? There we go. So just a quick few things about Pratt Industries. We're the 5th largest corrugated box manufacturer and growing. We'll get to that in here in just a minute here. We are the world's largest privately held, 100% recycled packaging manufacturer, which we're very proud of. We do not use any wood pulp, any other fibers. We use your paper. We use the waste paper that's collected at the curb, at Amazon, at all the commercial manufacturers every day. So we use mixed paper and what we call OCC, which is cardboard. That's all we use. And we mix it in a big 60,000 gallon blender at my paper mill with hot water, blend it up, and we make paper with it again, all day, every day. So there are many days I wish we were making margaritas instead, you know, but it's, the reason it's important to talk about how we make it is because we don't use chemicals. If any of you have ever driven past another paper mill or been within 20 miles of it, yeah, you know. They smell. They're using chemicals and things to pull the lignin out, which, you know, we do need that fiber in the market because we need to turn on and reconsume it. So anyhow, we continue to grow. We're modernizing our mills as we grow. I buy for the oldest mill, but we continue to build new mills and the technology changes to handle contamination and so forth. So one of the ways that we do this, we're vertically integrated. So we make boxes, that's our end game, right? We make packaging that all of you use all the time. Maybe your cereal, maybe, you know, a glass of wine or something that you're gonna have sooner or later came in one of our packages. So Amazon, I could go on down the line, Coca-Cola, we make packaging for a lot of major companies. But where we try to streamline our process is our box trucks will take the load out to the customer and, you know, they're gonna come home empty. So otherwise we put scrap on that truck and bring it back home so that we can reduce carbon footprint. We call that our hub and spoke model. So we have a box plant centrally located by the mill. My particular mill in Conyers has the box plant almost attached to it. They're right next door to one another. So that's our hub. We send the trucks out, we bring them back, and that's how we fiber our mill. So that's our vertical integration model. But we make our paper to make our boxes from recycling. We keep it in that system. We have our own MRFs where we can collect some of our own fiber as well. But we get a lot of the fiber from you folks. Kind of a timeline on how we got to where we are today. The first mill, Conyers, opened up in '95. It's the oldest mill. It's the mill I buy for. About 70% of the paper that I buy each month comes out of Florida. So yeah, so Florida is very near and dear to my heart because I need you all. I need you all to continue to collect this fiber and send it our way. So, but what's really important about it is if you'll see through the timeline here, we opened another mill in '97 in Staten Island. We partnered with the boroughs there and the city sanitation folks. And we actually, they collect it through the boroughs, the waste paper. They go and they tip it on a barge on the Hudson. They push it up the Hudson, and we pull it out of there with a big grapple hook, and we make paper with it every day. Fast forward, we opened another mill in Shreveport. Guys, these are all the same. We all use just mixed paper and OCC. The difference with the mills as we progress is they're a little better cleaning technology and a little more capacity in general. They can make more finished product each day. You can go through all the bullet points here, but one that's kind of cool and we'll touch on here real quickly is in 2009, Conyers, we got a waste energy plant. So it's the only plant where we do that currently. It's my mill, but it's mated right next to the mill. So we can actually take the short fibers when they come out of the paper mill. The paper can be recycled about 7 times, give or take, right? So eventually the little fibers become too short that when we weave them together, we don't get the strength that we need to meet test on the boxes that we sell to our customers. So sometimes we'll take that material and there'll be little bits and pieces of tape and other things off the boxes, and we can turn that back into energy to power the mill. And then after it comes off the turbines, it's a lower pressure, so we can use that to heat the drying cans in the back end of the paper mill. So we can make electricity and heat from it to dry the paper to make our product from waste stream. So going down, we opened another mill in Valparaiso, and excuse me, I'm also fighting post-COVID thing here. Sorry, my screen just closed on me. So as we move on, we continue to open these paper mills because our footprint grows and our box demand grows. So our most recent acquisition or our most recent build was in Henderson, Kentucky. And it was a $700 million project that our owner, Anthony Pratt, we're individually held. He continues to commit money to green products and clean energy. So you can read through the statistics here. The trees saved, the CO2 saved, the gallons of water. But we do this at all of our mills consistently. So some of you may think we're talking about regional things. We're talking about mills that are in other parts of the country. Well, the reason it's important for us to have Florida is we can take the tons to my mill. If my mill gets too full, we ship them to other mills. But as we continue to grow, we partner with states, communities, and programs that have the fiber that we need to make paper again, because our need doesn't change. We're making products 24/7, 365 with this paper. So it's very encouraging to hear that there are communities and programs looking to increase the production of the commodity that we need to make our end product. So that's really it in a nutshell. Guys, I buy about 40,000 tons of paper every month. Most of it comes out of Florida and the Carolinas. Everything you guys do, we appreciate. We love the partnership there's several counties here. I buy paper from many people in this room, and we couldn't do what we do without everyone's participation, hard work, and dedication to this topic. So thank you for having me.
How we all doing today? Good? A little energy in the house? Good? I'm Paul Storelli with Storelli Recycling. A little bit about myself. My family's been in it for 120 years. We used to own the landfills in Miami. We had 10 recycling MRFs throughout the U.S. Originally, my father and his brother sold all that in the late 90s to Wayne Huizinga, and then he worked with Waste Management. So I was kind of born in this industry. But I did work with J.P. Morgan for 13 years, and I've been doing this for about 10 years now. But what makes brokers important for this industry? Well, a lot of things. We are the guys that, after Solid Waste Authority, St. Lucie County, for example, creates the bales of mixed paper, OCC, UBC plastic, we are the guys that goes and qualifies the products. What does that mean? I visited mills in China, Asia, I've been all around, and certain mills like more cardboard in their mixed paper, or some of the mixed paper they like a little bit whiter because they want to make egg cartons out of it, which would be more of a news pack. So we go and qualify a lot of things, and what that does for the counties and municipalities is, number one, we can pay them more because we're trying to eliminate claims, we're trying to get them the highest price. One of the probably nicest facilities I've been at is SWA. Give a pat on the back to Dan and Ruman there. I personally love Dual Stream. They do an excellent job there. They've been in business for a long time. There are mills across the world that we sell to that only want their material. So a big kudos to them. Some of the other things that we see what's going on in the market with aluminum, we're only recycling 50%. I'm not going to get into all the stats with that. A lot of the panel did a great job already, but a lot of people don't realize, and it starts with, I think, the younger crowd, for example. And we've hit on it a little bit, but a lot of people throw it in the trash can. So what I see different, what a lot of people are starting to do, when I bought my house in Fort Lauderdale 6 years ago, this is the first time ever. I used to live in Plantation. Coastal Waste, which I'm sure you guys have heard of, actually came into the neighborhood, knocked on everyone's door, and gave every person a one-on-one, about 20-minute education of what goes in the bin. Make sure you wash it out, no food waste. And I'll tell you what, a lot of people in my neighborhood didn't realize that. I mean, you can only do so much advertising on TV, but when you do a little face-to-face, that helps a lot. And that makes my job a lot easier, which also gets the county and the municipalities more money because now they have a cleaner pack and we can market it at a higher price. So that was one thing I think that people need to continue to do, kind of knocking on the doors. I mean, I know it's cost involved, but That was pretty amazing. The other thing is, PET bottles. Endorama is a huge supplier of ours. We supply them. They are always taken every month. A lot of times there'll be certain mills that won't take, and brokers like us, we have to change gears pretty quickly. So that's another thing that we've done. We've also invested money in waste to energy facilities. Personally, Storelli Recycling has given money to repower plants. One of my family members helps build MRF. So when you come to sometimes the brokers, we're kind of a one-stop shop. And thanks to Jake as well, we sell him a lot of mixed paper as well. He's a big supporter of ours around the country. But other than that, I just want to thank everyone for having me up there. And if I have business cards, if you have any questions, please feel free to email me. I'd be happy to talk to you guys. Thank you so much.
That's a good idea. Okay, this is a little loud, but hi. So my name is Bruce Welt. I'm a professor at the University of Florida. I'm the coordinator of our packaging engineering program there. So I'm kind of coming to you from kind of the other side, the folks that are producing consumer packaged goods and, producing all the materials that are ending up in the waste stream. Of course, the packaging industry is pretty much over a barrel right now with all the pressures on plastics and whatnot. But frankly, over the past, 20, 30 years, the industry has done very well in the reduction part, right? We've seen glass jars go to PET jars, go to multi-layer flexible packages. We've reduced it so much that now it's kind of having an impact on the value of recycling because a lot of these flexible materials are not recyclable. So in either case, just as to where we're going here, my background, I'm a chemical engineer, and in the beginning of my education, I had an old professor who was big into gasification, and this was kind of as petroleum was starting to take over as a source for fuels and chemicals, back in the early 1900s. So what we're talking about here is a robust advanced recycling method which exists. It's commercially available today. All of the elements of this are available. It's just we're presenting a vision that is ready to go. So anyway, regenerative robust gasification is what I'm going to be talking about. So gasification, it's an old technology. Before we had light bulbs, communities used to gasify biomass and use the gas to light the streets. They called it producer's gas at that point. Today, around the world, we do gasification to produce chemicals mostly, and fuels. So in World War II, for instance, the Germans didn't have access to petroleum, which is why they were fighting towards the oil fields. They developed in the 1920s a body of organic chemistry known as Fischer-Tropsch chemistry, which allows you to basically take coal or petroleum or any carbon source, wood, and produce fuel from it, right? And that's what they were doing for the war effort. During the apartheid time in South Africa, they did the same thing because they were cut off from world markets and trade. So now South Africa is a leader in Sasol, is a big company that's big into gasification. In the United States, Eastman Chemical. In Tennessee, gasifying coal every day to produce chemicals, right? And these go